Hello everyone, I'm glad to have you guys here again. Today we're gonna learn something about watercolor, right? Watercolor is a material and a technique that you know how to use somehow, like doing some activities at school. Today you're gonna learn how to do landscape. How can you do landscape using watercolor? It's different than acrylic paint, it's different than color pencils, it's different than oil paints. It's different to do landscape using pencils. What materials we need? We need paint, for sure. We have different paints here. If you have watercolor at home, this kind, the thick and dry one is okay too, or liquid one. This one is really good. Don't make confusion with acrylic paints. Water. And a cloth or a tissue, something that you can dry or brush.
First I start doing the tree here. Yes, I do sketch with pencil before. Why? You have more control of things you're doing there when you have the sketch, because you're planning what you're doing before you start with watercolor. So I make a tree there, another tree on the right side. Here, I'm gonna make kind of background with mountains, bushes, and trees really far. Here's a lake. Here's the bushes and mountains I was talking about. And let's see how it's gonna look like when I start adding watercolor on it. I'm gonna start with green because we have lots of green. My paint is gonna drop around because my table is really like standing up there. I'm doing like this so you guys can have a better view. It is not like the horizontal table that you probably have at home. It's going to be easier for you actually. All right, flat colors, making something lighter always with water. Just at the end, if you want to make something lighter, then you can use like white wash or white watercolor or some kind of white paint. Remember, if you don't have watercolor, you can use acrylic paints or wash, but putting lots of water. The technique is watercolor technique. If you're using water-based paints, doesn't matter if it's not watercolor, because besides watercolor is materials like a kind of paint, is also a technique. If you're using any kind of paints that you can add water to make it lighter, to make it more liquid, you are doing watercolor. That's the idea, okay? So instead to use like white or other colors to make lighter, you're gonna use water for this. And then you add like thicker a little bit when you're doing more details and things. But it still is gonna be watercolor style. If you're using a kind of paint and doing this really thick, like when you do a canvas with acrylic paint or oil paint, you're not doing watercolor technique. If you wanna do something watercolor style, has to be more transparent to the paint. The cool and the main thing about the watercolor technique, the ink, the paint, the colors, they are transparent, okay? If you see, I'm doing like larger areas, big areas, before I start to do little details. Think about the sky, think about the grass, the lake, and later on, the top part of the trees. Now we're going to stop talking and pay attention and see how I do. It's me again, just saying something that is really important here. Light comes from the top, sun comes from the top. So you're gonna see that the darker areas from the top of the tree is the bottom parts. Always doing something like with shadows underneath that leaves, okay? Really think about the bottom parts to make darker. And then the top parts, they are lighter. If you see the mountains and bushes down there far away, they are not like brown or green. They are mixing with the sky color. Why? We call this atmospheric perspective. Pay attention when you travel on a highway or you are in a natural environment, a landscape, and you see like mountains and things. You're gonna pay attention. You're gonna see that the mountains that are closer to your eyes, you can see details, the green, the brown things, but when they are really far, they start to mix with the sky. That's something really interesting to pay attention when you're traveling. And if you really want to do some really nice painting, it's going to be more realistic if you're really trying to think that the things that are far, they're not darker, they're lighter and they're mixing with the sky. That's what we call, as I told you, atmospheric perspective.
Hope you like it. Bye bye.